Nope. Nope, this is not the one. This is the local paper. The one I remember is from the wire services. A picture of my father next to the article, holding, standing next to a huge bicycle, holding like this, very proudly. Oh, it's a cute picture. This one is, headline says, 13-year-old now enrolled in college. My father was one of the first child prodigies to make it. We have a story in the wire services in this country. This date is June 8th, 1929. He was graduated from high school at 13, from college at 16, and became a graduate student at the University of Texas, the youngest graduate student in the country, at the age of 16. Small wonder that he soon developed a reputation as the smartest man in the room, everywhere he went. But according to my sister, he told her that he really hated being pushed through school like that. He'd rather been just an ordinary boy. And speaking of my sister, there's another thing about my father. He almost never talked to me about personal stuff. Most of the racier things I know about my father, I know because he told my sister, and my sister told me. For example, a story about when my aunt came to see my father. My aunt was my mother's twin sister, and she married a man she called Chat, who I think apparently because he didn't talk very much. I'll call him Uncle Phil myself, but she called him Chat. Chat was a geologist for the oil company, and he also played the violin. I used to watch him sometimes. He'd stand there for hours playing beautiful music, and it was amazing to me that he could stand up that long, because he looked like a guy who could stand up for more than 30 seconds. At any rate, he also was a World War II vet who got his balls chopped off in a Japanese prison camp. Oh, God, awful. And at any rate, my aunt came to my father one day and she said, my aunt never said anything directly, it was more like evasiveness, but she said that since her husband couldn't get it going anymore, she said going, I would have said, personally, that was her choice of words, I would have said he couldn't get it up anymore, but that's another thing. And since my mother, who was devoted herself by that point totally to worship of the bottle, that why didn't they? Well, you get the point. The reason I'm raising the story is that my father felt perfectly comfortable telling the story to my sister, but not the sort of thing he'd tell me. He talked to me about lots of things, but things like his opinion of that in order to be truly educated you have to understand science, and his opinion of the Vietnam War, which he was sort of for, but not exactly, and solid concrete stuff like that, never anything personal. As a result, I didn't get what I needed from him. I needed his approval, I needed his attention. But if you're the smartest guy in the room, you always need to succeed at everything you do, and therefore failure is the only subject worth talking about. Families, you can't live with them, you can't live without them. My father's been dead for almost 25 years, yet he remains a vivid presence in my life. My father's face looks like a rumpled sock. His feet are slippered, in his hand a cane. His walk is slow, with sudden pointless stops. I cannot watch it without shock. I've chosen this, I expect him to explain. Instead, he finds the nearest chair and plops. And I think, is this my fate? To live by pill? To sit and wait for passing time to kill? Huh. That's a sonnet, but that's only 8 lines. Well, I can't seem to remember the other 6. Very strange, very strange. It happens when you get older, I guess. Those sudden pointless stops of my father's could have been a sign he had Parkinson's disease, just like me. It would be just like him to pretend that the bad things in life didn't exist. Yeah, it would be just like him. Speaking of Parkinson's disease, it's time for my exercises. I love these boxing gloves. So much fun. Feels great doing that stuff. Really feels great. Oh, legs. You know what it's like to have Parkinson's disease? I'll tell you what it's like. It's unsettling is what it is. It's just plain unsettling. You know, at first it wasn't too bad. It was kind of pleasant to walk away from my car and sort of freeze in midair, so sort of like a statue, and sort of contemplate the universe. Of course, everybody looking at me would have thought I looked weird, very weird. But then things got much worse. I went on a trip to Europe. It was supposed to be a romantic interlude. I just met Cat and we were going to go away together, but it didn't work out that way. It was we had a house in south of France, and first night we went to the local village. We climbed up the hill, had a great meal, and I came back and I felt so awful that I just spent the night not just on the toilet, all over the floor. It was awful. I won't go into it. At any rate, one thing that happened was a French doctor became the first person who told me I had Parkinson's disease. I didn't get diagnosed here first. I got diagnosed in France. It was awful. At any rate, so I started exercising quite a bit, and that delayed the symptoms for a while. And I still exercise a lot, but then things started getting bad. I had dyskinesia. Dyskinesia makes you do things like this. And the pills they gave me first for the dyskinesia had some pretty bad side effects, like panic attacks. I thought I was having a heart attack. I called an ambulance, got myself to the hospital. Just a panic attack. Never had a panic attack before. I didn't know what it was. Very strange. At any rate, I had symptoms started to increase, and they finally got me what's called a deep brain stimulation operation. What they do is they take two long little probes, they stick them down your head, and then they can program them to stimulate your brain and produce some more, stimulate to produce more what do you call it? What is that thing? Dopamine, that's right. The problem with the deep brain stimulation operation, it gives me these two little lumps in my head, sort of like a junior grade Frankenstein's monster. It's awful. At any rate, it's what it really is. It's now the worst thing is I can't walk properly. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It would be better if it was the same all the time, but it changes a lot. It's really, being Parkinson's disease is a kind of hell. No, it's not right. It's not hell. It's more like a being in purgatory. Yeah, that's right. It's as though God had stopped, put out a room in that purgatory he's been sending people to for thousands of years to expiate their sins, and allowed decided someone on earth would expiate their sins while they're still alive with Parkinson's in purgatory. It was pretty awful. I wonder how that seven deadly sins I got into to caused me to go there. Let me think about this a second. What are the seven deadly sins? There's greed. Well, I know greed because I never commit greed because, frankly, I'm just the opposite. I tend to be pathologically generous. Give away my money if I got it. There's wrath, but I don't get pissed off very often. I'm a pretty even-tempered person. There's envy. Well, sometimes I do kind of envy the guys with the women I'm attracted to, but that's doesn't really rise to the level of sin. There's gluttony. Parkinson's decreases your appetite. There's pride. Well, they say pride goes before a fall. With Parkinson's, the fall comes before the pride, before the fall. Before the fall. There's lust. They got me there because, frankly, I've been ever since I was 13 years old. I've committed lust pretty much every day, sometimes several times a day. But I always thought that lust was kind of one of God's little typographical errors because it doesn't seem to me anything that natural and normal should be considered a sin. Anyway, but there is one thing I've done that Could have sent me into purgatory. It's pretty bad. You may be wondering why I'm focused so much on my father. The answer is I don't really know. I think that must have something to do with my relationship with my own son. You know, he doesn't really live here, and he doesn't really know you all that well when you come right down to it. Yet he feels free to have the opinion that I should be living in a home with assisted living. Assisted fucking living. Oh shit. I'm gonna get some drink, some water. I'm thirsty. Oh fuck. Not really good. Dying. Let's just do it that way. Let's just do it this way. It's not right. Yeah, I'm right. Where's it now? Assisted living, my ass. It's nothing but glorified nursing home. Shit. I don't want to live there. I want to stay here by myself and be in charge of my life. But I know it can't be that way. Shit. They tell me that they may have a cure for Parkinson's, or at least a better treatment in the next 5 or 6 years. So that makes perfect sense for me to live here. I won't get, even if I got a cure, I won't get rid of all the damages that Parkinson's done to my system, but at least I'll have some hope for the future. On the other hand, it's the argument that it takes the next 5 or 6 years to endanger of a fatal fall or something like that is pretty strong. And frankly, the hope of a cure may be a pipe dream. Oh shit, I don't know. Anyway, back to talking about my father. No, not my father. Not yet, because in order to understand my father, you really need to know something about my mother. I got something that gives you a picture of what she was like at the end of her life. My mother embraced the bottle. She was open about it, not like her mother, who pretended gin was water. One day Dr. Barton said to her, "Your only hope is to give it up." And so she did. And deprivation deprived her of all sweetness. And so she drank again. Every night for 7 years, she'd call out my father's name from her bedroom. "Bill! Bill! Bill!" As though it would matter if he came to see her. So anything could change. In the living room, we all pretended there was nothing wrong. I get a pretty fair picture of what she's like at the end. I don't know, but she has a good side too. She was a very fine card player, especially bridge, which she was a life master. She's the best chess player in our family. She's a wonderful actress, So that's me. I'm a product of a actress slash card player and a child prodigy. You'd think I would have won a spelling bee or turned out to be a better poker player or something. Shit. Cat, you called, right? Yeah, I know. That's right. Josh is coming over to walk me through the process today. Yeah, I'll probably be in there inside a month. Yeah, first a month. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the right thing to do. It's got to be the right thing to do because he can't take care of me because his job takes him all over the world. And, I know. Yeah, well, you know what I wanted. I wanted to stay here. I wanted to stay here on my own, but I don't have that choice. What I really wanted to do was to be with you, Kat. wanted to spend, we talked about this. I know your illness makes it impossible, but I know. Sigh. Yeah. Well, I know I would have had to have my own bedroom. I know I would have had to be just a roommate to you, but still, I've been able to spend time with you. I've been able to spend my evenings with you. Yeah, I know. You'll come to see me. That's one of the things that sustains me. But still, yeah, right. All right, I'll call you back after I've signed my life away. All right. Talk to you soon, Kat. Bye. That was Kat, my last girlfriend, probably the last one I'll ever have in my life. It's been nice just to spend time with her, just to be with her, just to hold her hand. I have no one here beside me. No one comforts me at night. No one to make my minor triumphs seem forever bright. Here's what I think I'm missing, what I'm missing now. Perhaps a woman could quite gently place her hand upon my brow. Perhaps she'd speak to me quite softly, whisper in the night. Perhaps one day she'd wake beside me in the early morning light. The one I need is out there waiting, secure in her desires. So sad I'll never meet her, and before my life expires. Talking with Kat always makes me hungry for some reason. I want to get something to eat. By the time I was 16, I started having to deal with my father's off-the-wall suggestions for my future. For example, he told me he'd get me flying lessons if I didn't try to drive a car before I was 25. He also wanted me to spend 3 years in the Coast Guard before I went to college. Who knows why? Oh yes, and the worst one of all was he wanted me to make sure that every time I went on a date, I not only took a condom with me, I wore a condom. Oh, and that's the sort of thing you want to talk to your father about when you're 16 at all. Still I was very interested in him. I knew that he was, very interested he loved Lewis Carroll, so I decided to write a Lewis Carroll imitation. I get it for you. Lewis Carroll, the Alice in Wonderland guy. I had a thought the other day, while falling down the stair. I'll surely land quite hard, I fear. I guess I'd best prepare. Then I thought, suppose I say, I quite refuse to fall. Quite brave of me when I land so near to thus attempt to stall. Then I saw to my dismay my final landing spot. I can't go up, I'm on my way. And then I thought, why not? I thought it was pretty good, but he didn't seem to react to it at all. I don't know. Then something awful happened. Let me tell you the story. It was late at night, 10:30 at night. My sister and I were both in our rooms pretending to study. My father was asleep by the fireplace, and we got this phone call. We never had a call this late at night before in our lives. So we all rushed into the kitchen where the phone hung on the wall because we were always sure that something was wrong, something bad had happened. We were right. My mother had gotten drunk. She usually did every evening, and apparently wandered off to visit the neighbor's house late at night, wearing just a shorty nightgown, no underwear or anything. And the neighbors were calling to have us come get her. So I went to go back to bed. Very reasonable. So my father looked at me. I knew it was going to be my turn tonight to go get her. I knew he wasn't going to do it. He just told me to go get her and didn't say any more. So I went across the street. I hated it, but I did it. I knocked on the door. They let me in, and there was my two neighbors sitting there, matching silk pajamas. Listening to my mother, was sprawled across a chair, talking like crazy about how the artistic director of the local theater had screwed her over. She could see it. Oh, it was awful. It was awful. I was so humiliated. I can't tell you how awful I felt. But I got her home. Got her home safe and sound. I did it. Shit. It was awful. For the next 15 years or so, I communicated with my father mostly, by mail. I got married in this period to a lovely Sephardic Jewish woman named Marilyn. Marilyn was Zaftik was the word for Marilyn. She and I had a lot of fun together, but our incompatibility started showing up pretty early on. And instead of fixing up to them, we tried to gloss them over by having kids. They didn't work out so well at first. That dead thing in her body, that swiggle under the flickering wiper blade, the one who never was, that almost child, goodbye. Outside the air is still and wet. I bite my lip and watch the redness in the window pane. I cannot howl, but I can listen to the night. Eventually we had a child named Roger, a beautiful, intelligent, toy-headed boy, and we're very happy. My father loved Roger, but unfortunately he detested Marilyn. He'd never tell me why. I guess it was personal, that's all I could tell. It was very strange. Anyway, then two dramatic things happened almost back to back. First of all, Roger died. An accident that should not have happened, not ever have happened. He was a freshman in high school. He was tossing a football back and forth near his school with a friend of his. He was only 14 years old. And he missed the ball, and he followed the ball out in the street, and bam! He was hit by a Ryder moving truck. Killed instantly. Oh, it was awful. It was too much to bear. And my father and I exchanged anguished looks at the ceremony for Roger's life, but we didn't really change the relationship that much. Besides, I was too focused on my end of my marriage to Marilyn. It was going badly at that time, and shortly thereafter. And then the second thing was, my mother died. And my father was like he was released from prison. I went to visit him in Kingsville, Texas, his hometown, which he retired at, I guess because he felt comfortable there. He invited me out to dinner, and not one, not two, but three women. Came with us. I called my sister when I got home, and I said, I have to worry about our father, because he's going to be well taken care of. You know, we're talking about my father a lot in this, but I'm also a father, and let me tell you what happened. It was 2 or 3 years ago, and I was living in a two-bedroom apartment downtown, a luxury two-bedroom apartment downtown, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and I got this buzz, and it was very strange to get a buzz on Saturday afternoon, because all my friends knew that I devoted my Saturday afternoons to my writing, and the packages came to the doorman, so why would I get a buzz? So I said, who is it? And the answer came back, Lieutenant Joshua Johnson. I thought, the only lieutenant I know is with the local police department. Why would a high-ranking police officer like that be doing here at my place at Saturday afternoon? I said, do I know you? He replied, no, but I think you know my mother. I said, what was her name? And he said, Sally Johnson. I thought, oh yes, I knew a woman by that name about 30 or 40 years ago. I think you'd better come up. And a few minutes later, he walked in the door, and I saw my other son for the first time. I saw a man before me in early middle age, a couple inches taller than me, in very good physical shape. It turned out he'd been he was a career naval officer. He'd been some sort of political officer with various embassies around the Far East, and somehow he'd been involved in this secret project that involved DNA testing. He got really interested in the subject and asked his father and his two brothers to get tested along with him. He was shocked and surprised when the results came back. His two brothers were only half brothers, and his father was not his natural father. So he was bewildered by this, and he asked his real father, his natural father, and his real father, I guess, who could this be? Who could be my other father? He said the only name that was mine. So he'd come to ask me to take a DNA test, and of course, I had decided to do that the moment I heard his mother's name, because, God, she was the reason. She was the reason I felt that I deserved to be in purgatory, Parkinson's purgatory, because some years ago I'd had an adulterous affair with Sally Johnson, and the last time we had sex together, she'd smile at me afterwards and told me she'd taken out her IUD right beforehand because she wanted to have a child by me. I laughed it off at the time, but I'd always known that I could be the father of a natural child by her, and it looks like I was. Oh God, and I deserve to be in purgatory. Josh was really straight with me. He considered his father, that he'd known all his life, to be his real father, and I was sort of an adjunct relationship. Anyway, on the other hand, he did promise to take leave every year to visit me. He's been very helpful in my decision to go into an assisted living facility. All in all, I think we got a real promising start to our relationship. I think it's going to be something someday. I feel good about it. So my own father, I could forgive him almost anything except for that time he sent me to get my mother. That horrible night when she was so drunk and wandered over to the neighbor's house. Even then, if he'd apologized or shown some remorse, I could forgive him. But, oh man. Shit. Oh, hello, Lizzie Liz. How's my best and only sister today? Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, you're calling to check on my move. Yeah, it's going to happen. Josh is coming over with his rental car pretty soon to take me to sign all the paperwork, and I'll be in there by the first of the month. Yeah, I think it's going to work out with Josh. I think it's really going to have a good relationship. It takes time to mature, you know. Really, I spent the whole last week thinking about instead about my relationship with our father, thinking about that. I could forgive him almost anything, except for the fact that he sent me to get my mother that night. You remember that night she was so drunk and walked over to the neighbors? Oh yeah, she was naked, practically naked. It was awful. Yeah. What? What? Really? Wasn't that just like him, huh? Yeah, I know. Wow, thank you, Lizzie Liz. I really appreciate you saying that to me. Tell me about that. Wow. Yeah, I'll call you after I've signed all the paperwork. I'll talk to you later then. Do you know what my sister just said to me? She told me that my father had apologized to her not once but several times for sending me over that night. He said he wanted to go himself, but he just didn't have the strength. And he knew I'd be strong. He knew I would be strong. Oh, God. My. I feel I can hardly keep from crying. It's just, I knew I'd be strong. He knew I'd be strong. Oh, God. I knew I'd be strong. He knew I'd be strong. I think I'm ready now. The whole poem came back to me. And with a little twist at the end. My father's face looks like a rumpled sock. His feet are slippered, in his hand a cane. His walk is slow, with sudden pointless stops. I cannot watch him without shock. I've chosen this expecting to explain. Instead, he finds near his chair and plops. And I think, is this my fate, to live by pill, sit and wait for passing time to kill? And yet, when he begins to think, I see the brilliant person that I knew. When ideas clash, he does not shrink from combat, but takes the field anew. And as for his parental failings, I now think he did the very best that he could do. Hi, Josh. Yeah, come on in. Parkinson's Face 84. I'm ready for you now.